Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to be covering how 12.8, the patch for League of Legends, might affect MSI 2022 next week. If you didn't catch yesterday's video, I covered 12.7. Obviously 12.7 and 12.8 will affect the meta at MSI. 12.8 being the patch that they will play on. There was not overlap and reverts between what was listed on yesterday's video and what's listed today, so all of the champions being buffed or nerfed are applicable to what we might see next week. If you like daily League of Legends content, I suggest you subscribe to the channel. I do daily content. I will be covering every game at MSI, giving you a breakdown of what happened in case you missed games or whatever. I'm also previewing all the teams. Today I did PSG Talon. There's only 5 teams left, so past the halfway point. I never wrote down 8 on here. Jeez Louise, I'm not paying attention. Okay, so I wasn't paying attention when I was doing this. So patch 12.8. A lot of buffs, a ton of buffs. Only 2 nerfs that were significant, Soraka being another one, but no one played Soraka really all that much. If a champion's listed here, it means that it was played in the top 3 of a player's champion pool on that given team. So, for instance, Detonation Focus Me, Bard. Bard's an odd thing to see on a thing, right? Like Bard buff. Why would a Bard buff really matter? Well, what's his name? Harp. Harp plays Bard. It was in the top 3 of his champion pool within the last 3 years at some point throughout a season. So, it's an option for him. And that's what this is kind of going over. It's going over, some champs that are options for these teams are going to help them. That gives them an edge over everybody else, at least when it comes to the meta. Now, we have to also keep in mind not all buffs and nerfs are created equally, so if it's a minor buff or a minor nerf, the champion may still stay in the meta. And even if it's a big buff or nerf, it still may stay in the meta because teams like to drag their feet on making changes. So, Soraka being a nerf and Xayah and Jinx being a nerf. So, a lot of Xayah and Jinx over the last couple patches. Jinx has been around all split long. So if you played a lot of Jinx, it's listed in red here. Not everybody has Xayah though. G2, Ace, Red, Saigon Buffalo, RNG, and PSG played a lot of Xayah within the last 3 years. But the other teams really didn't. So their AD carries aren't all that affected by the Xayah nerf. But a lot of AD carry buffs. Ezreal, Jhin, Tristana, Kesa. Just to name 4. Kesa being an alteration. But still, I've watched a couple people and they considered it a net buff. So, those 4 champions, all of a sudden for AD carries, if their AD carries play those champions, that is a plus. Now, I also have it so that when a player plays, for instance, Detonation Focus Me again, Utapon plays a lot of Ezreal. He plays Ezreal. Well, if he plays Ezreal as his most played champion or something, it's going to matter more than somebody that might have played him 3 years ago as their 3rd most champion, if that makes sense. So, Detonation Focus Me, Detonation Focus Me, Order, G2, EG, and Team Ace all have a net buff this patch. And most teams were buffed in some way. Even this question mark middle 4 teams here, all are actually technically buffed slightly, just not as much as these teams. Detonation Focus Me, Bard, Ezreal, Jhin, Poppy. Poppy is not on everybody's list, but for Detonation Focus Me, Poppy is now an option. Tristana, Zoe, Kesa. Order has Silas on their list. And they have Ezreal, Tristana, Zoe, Kesa. A lot of Zoe. A lot of people play Zoe. A lot of people have played Kesa over the years. We'll see a lot of that listed. G2, similar list. Nothing really special. EG, get a little freaky now. EG, Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks was buffed. Fiddlesticks, not a very commonly picked champion, but he's listed here, as is Vladimir in another section, as champions that are buffed that players have historically played at all. Now this is the thing. Fiddlesticks is inspired as a good Fiddlesticks player. I remember seeing him play it with Rogue a few times. so it's listed. Vladimir is listed for a couple teams as well. Mordekaiser was buffed. Mordekaiser, Impact plays Mordekaiser. I haven't mentioned Mordekaiser yet. That's another advantage for EG. Sejuani, I haven't mentioned Sejuani. Sejuani is another option. So those are 3 champions right there for EG that at least Detonation, Focus Me, Order, and G2 don't have. And it's even more important for against Order and G2 within their group. Ace, pretty similar. I think it's pretty much the same as G2 and Order. Ezreal, Jhin, Silas, Zoe, and Kesa. I mean, those champions are going to be throughout the entire list here. Middle of the road, Red Canids had a lot of champions listed. A lot of champion pools are, I mean, they don't focus on one specific champion all that much, or even more so, they do, causing their second most and third most played champions not being played all that much. But JoJo plays some Bard. Similar to Harp with Detonation Focus Me. Bard is an advantage. Mordekaiser, Guigo. I'm going to go with Guigo. Someone's going to correct me in the comments, but nevertheless. Mordekaiser. I didn't mention Wukong yesterday when it came to Red Canids. He also plays some Wukong. Vladimir, also in his wheelhouse. That's important. We have Mordekaiser, Wukong, and Vladimir as options for him in top lane. He is a tank, weak side top laner. Mordekaiser may be an option for him. Istanbul Wildcats, Vladimir is an option for them, where others it is not. Ezreal, Silas, and Kesa being something that they have options to play. T1, Poppy. Owner plays a little bit of Poppy. Only Detonation Focus Me and T1 have Poppy listed. That's an advantage. Saigon Buffalo, top laner plays a bit of Mordekaiser. That's a nice thing to have. But they also only have 2 champions buffed, 2 champions nerfed. They're slightly above net 0 on this patch. The 2 teams below 0 that actually are more harmed by this patch than buffed are RNG and PSG. RNG are benefiting from Zoe and Kesa being messed with. However, RNG liked playing Jinx and Xayah. That's a problem. Gala loses Jinx and Xayah. Now that's a net loss for them on this patch. PSG, very similar. PSG being the 3rd team that plays a little bit of Bard. Kaiwing plays some Bard. And actually more Bard than I think anybody does. And then Kesa, but they're also hurt by Xayah Jinx as well. So PSG, Bard is actually probably a better advantage. A bigger advantage to have than a Zoe or whatever. Because I think you have to also take into consideration that all these mid laners in this tournament play the champions like Silas, Zoe. They play Kesa in AD carry. They play Ezreal at AD carry. It's the weird off-meta champs that get picked that these players have as options that are important. The Mordekaisers, the Wukongs, the Vladimirs, Bard, Poppy, Sejuani. Those sort of champions that not everybody plays a lot, fiddlesticks. Champions that people do not play a lot are the advantages that people can find in a given tournament, and it's important. I went over this yesterday. The smaller region teams need to cheese a bit. They need to make picks that people don't expect and try and make them work. Over this week and a half here, they've already been in Korea for a week. They have to be playing on their accounts. They have to be playing the champions that are buffed recently or been buffed in the past that no one's really playing, and see if those champions can be worked into a comp that can get you wins. We saw a couple Mordekaiser games out of Impact already in the LCS playoffs on 12.6 before even the buffs, and that's important. That's important to note. Is Mordekaiser an option? Sure as heck might be now. If he's already playing a pre-buff, he might play it now, which, that's an advantage against G2 in Order, where Broken Blade's not really playing it, and neither is BioPanther all that much. I think BioPanther has it listed, so it's like an option, but he doesn't go to it too often. Sejuani, a Sejuani would be really interesting. It would create a little bit of havoc. Tristana is an option. Danny likes playing hyper carries. you take away the jinx. Now all of a sudden he goes Zeri Tristana as his options. That'll be important. He played a little bit of Ezreal in the LCS playoffs. I mean, that's recency bias I'm going over in my head of champions that people have played recently. Obviously, I haven't watched any smaller regions play this past split, so I don't know, like, not only do you play these champions, but do you play them decent? That's a thing. I mean, if you don't play Bard or you don't play Poppy all that well, how much does it help you? But nevertheless, this is going over all the teams. I have here. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I had all 11 on here for a second. I thought I didn't, but I do. So these are all the teams. This is how the meta is going to look for MSI. I mean, these are the teams that are going to be buffed by this patch versus nerfed by this patch, and we'll see, you know, what comes of it, what teams might do if it ends up just being handshakes. Like if you watched my video earlier in the week where I did the cumulative stats from Spring Split of the most common 5 matchups in each role of the 4 major regions. If we end up reverting back to that where it gets all boring and it's the same matchups all the time, then it's going to suck. MSI will suck if that's the case. So hopefully we see some interesting picks. Comment down below if you have any opinions of your own. If you missed the 12.7 video, like I said, there's no doubles here, so 12.7 is also a factor. I believe actually RNG and PSG are technically buffed on that video yesterday, so maybe they end up in the middle when this is all said and done. You know, I think Istanbul Wildcats were buffed too. I forget who was nerfed. I think Saigon Buffalo was nerfed, T1 were nerfed, and A's were nerfed, so A's might be in the middle, T1 and Saigon Buffalo might be a little over here. You know, it's just kind of between the two patches, that might be how it ends up looking. But, nevertheless, it's like I said, comment down below if you have any opinions of your own. Do you hope to see any of these champions picked? Are there any champions in particular that you think would be interesting to see on the Rift? Subscribe to the channel if you like daily League of Legends content. Like the video if you thought this was informational and interesting. So I, feel like I should do more of them because pre-boom where I got all these subscribers this week, these videos do not do as well as recaps. So if people like these videos like I do, it'll definitely make me want to do more. So thank you for watching.